Buongiorno a tutti.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this meeting on corporate welfare. There are some experts here with us. Therefore, I hope this topic will be interesting not only for experts in the field, but also for companies who are exploring the opportunities given by corporate welfare. First of all, I would like to thank our guests because they certainly help us better understand this topic. First of all, Mrs. Annamaria Parente, Senator, member of a specific committee of the Senate about employment and Social Security. Then we have the General Director of UniSalute, Mrs. Fiammetta Fabris. Then Manuela Kron, the Corporate Affairs Director of the Edenred Group Italy, and Andrea Keller, the Managing Director of Edenred. Well, this is one of the few meetings of our event where men are a minority. Well, we're going to talk about welfare. Welfare is not a new topic because many entrepreneurs have always tried to contribute to the well-being of their employees, of their staff, and of their relatives. Let's not forget what Adriano Olivetti started doing in the past. So today things have changed. External partners have come in. Institutions also have played a role. And in particular, there are three main axes that developed: so contributions for Social Security and healthcare services, then some specific services like kindergarten, and then specific corporate services like special benefits, corporate car and corporate mobile phone, ticket restaurants, and so on and so forth. But with the Stability Law of 2016, some changes were introduced. Well, I'll say a couple of technical things, but it's important to mention them in order to get a better understanding of the general topic. Thanks to this piece of legislation, now we have a second-level trade union negotiation process that has been introduced for welfare plans. Moreover, the welfare plan can be agreed upon with the employees, and then employees can choose. However, what is given by the employer is not submitted to taxes up to a maximum of 2,000 euros. And then there are more opportunities for employers in terms of things given to their employees, so educational services, kindergarten, university, and also assistance and support to non-autosufficient elderly, and then contributions for healthcare services, loans to pay mortgages, and so on and so forth. And we also have, for instance, laundry services that can be catered for by the employees, and this is very important, especially for women. So you see, the range is quite wide. Which are the main consequences of this? First, there are some consequences for companies, and this is clear because there are some tax breaks for companies delivering these services to their employees, but then there are differences for the profit and no-profit entities that provide these services. On the one hand, we have opportunities for the companies. On the other hand, we have changes for the service providers that do provide these services in agreement with the considered companies. Let's now try to understand why the state decided to adopt such a law. Why is it so that the decision makers wanted to pass this law? And if my memory serves me right, this law was voted with a large majority, was largely supported. The law also aims at supporting company growth. You know that the productivity of our companies is the Achilles heel of many companies, and in terms of creativity, we are top. What sometimes is a problem is the effectiveness and the efficiency of our companies, because sometimes that's where they lag behind. So sometimes cost efficiency is a problem or production rate is a problem. So I would like to thank our guests, and I give the floor to our first guest. To Mrs. Parente. Thank you very much. I would like to start with your quote for this year, because this is also very important for us as decision makers. So all that you have bequeathed you by your father, earn it in order to possess it. Well, this is something that puts at stake my own accountability and responsibility as representative of institutions, and corporate welfare that is part of a law, a stability law that was adopted 2 years ago. And this law is a very important law. It's a budgetary law that is quite decisive, because specific decisions are made through a budgetary law, because you decide to allocate resources to something and not to something else. And this is nothing but a political choice. So the fact of having chosen corporate welfare as a key pillar for the budgetary law is a clear message, and that meant that resources were allocated to that topic, to that goal, in order to improve the working conditions of our workers in Italy. So somehow this is the legacy that we had from Italian trade unions, and please let's have a look to the countries where trade unions do not exist, because maybe today there's a growing trend about criticizing trade unions, but trade unions in Italy fought for more dignified working conditions. In the past, women could be laid off when they got married. So dignified work is very important, as our Pope reminds us every day, and also how your exhibition reminds us somehow. So when it comes to corporate welfare, is also about dignified work. And when I used to come to the meeting, I've always been impressed by the beautiful approach you always had about testimonies. And we made a sort of tour to make news about this law circulate, because one of the major problems in Italy is that sometimes when a new law is passed and people do not know about it, so we also collected testimonies, and this is a welfare book that we edited together with Keller. And for instance, we have one testimony from a woman from a small medium business that tells us something very interesting. And in particular, SMEs are very much affected by this piece of legislation. And so we have the experience of this woman who says that the people who feel better work better. So this is really the essence of this kind of law. So this law certainly wants to tackle some key issues. First of all, productivity, as Bernhard said. we have set some tax breaks because actually there are two major issues. First of all, tax breaks, because it is important to have tax breaks to improve productivity. And secondly, we give workers a free choice, so they can decide whether to turn the productivity reward, the productivity bonus, into special benefits. And this may happen only if decentralized negotiation and bargaining is related to productivity. We know that Italy enormously needs to improve its production rate and its innovation rate. And we are still suffering from the bad data about production rate of 2000, because of the period between 2000 and 2014, productivity went down by 6.2%. And even though now the growth rate is slightly improving and we feel a bit relieved, well, we have to soon pass a new budgetary law. So we need to remember that, because we have quite important deadlines, and the fact of having growing GDP is quite encouraging, because in a few weeks' time we will have to review the new budgetary law, and the Senate will start this revision work. So having a growing GDP is quite positive, so that we can have a better outlook for the future. So, as I said, the law includes tax breaks related to production rate. So the production rate is linked to the production bonus, and then we have the specific execution decree that gives indications about how to measure the production rate, because you know that it's not always easy to measure the production rate and to provide measures and parameters to measure it. And then we have other laws that we have for instance, adopted during this mandate, like the law about smart working, and this is a corollary ancillary work with a law that was adopted specifically to improve production of Italian companies at large. Secondly, we have acted not only on the fiscal lever, but also on the political lever. Our broader goal is to improve working conditions, and according to the latest data provided us by the Ministry for Employment, well, we saw that according to the latest detected trends, there seem to be a quite good response to this law. So we feel a bit encouraged by the results, because it seems that both employers and workers have been well accepted this piece of legislation, and have decided to use the tools provided for by the law, especially in the north of Italy. But still, territorial local bargaining needs to be further encouraged, especially in other areas and especially in SMEs, because so far the tools offered by law have been used mostly by the largest companies, because somehow, thanks to this law, bargaining is somehow delegated to the companies. And this is something new, because usually the mechanisms were different. Now we have this new decentralized bargaining that certainly introduces something that did not exist. And this was necessary because new needs had emerged. Moreover, this legislation also improves the bonus mechanisms because we have fixed salary, variable salary, and benefits. And again, the worker can freely decide how almost to structure their own salaries. Tax breaks are also very interesting because they let us better approach also this aspect. Well, we didn't have enough data yet to understand how companies assess these tax breaks. The last important chapter of the law is the better work-life balance, because there's a large part of the law that is devoted to that, and so we are eager to see which is going to be the impact of this part of the law, and we hope that families, and namely women, will feel supported and helped, and we have the opportunity to take advantage of the tools that we have set forth. Because again, social and economic issues are strictly intertwined. We all know that. And moreover, we know that not only our population is aging, and so we have a growing number of old people requiring care, but also, on the other hand, you know that there's a very low birth rate according to the latest data in the field. We know that we need to go back to the half of the 16th century to see so few newborns, less than 500 million, and also such a low level of working women. So on the one hand, we need to reboost bargaining processes, and then we need also to consider that today people have different needs. So on the one hand, we need to, well, earn the legacy, and then to make it our own, we need to consider the new needs, because people being born in the north of Italy and working for a large company live in a different setting compared with people born in the south and working within a small medium company. So that's what this legislation is made for. It is made to really try to respond to a wide range of situations and needs, because our society is complex, and we also need to respond with a new welfare system integrated also with private welfare solutions. And we have passed a specific law on the third sector, and that in order to better coordinate the activities of public entities together with private entities. So having a welfare system that combines private and public players is very important. Very often when I join meetings and events, I'm being told that, well, if you introduce too much private welfare, this is not good for public welfare, but this is not the case. We need to have a system in place that needs to be either complementary but also strengthened. So we need to improve and boost the public-private solutions, but at the same time they need really to have the chance to directly bargain with the interested parties in order to better respond to the specific needs people have today. So these are the major guidelines that we followed when we discussed this law. Thank you.
Cogliendo questo ultimo aspetto, penso che la legge non è il tema. Reconnecting to this very last aspect, well, I do believe that this law shows that there is an overcome of a private strategy with a cooperation between the public and the private sector. And, well, the needs of people are now central. So this is a completely new approach, and I do hope that it will be an example for other new laws, because obviously, well, state welfare cannot be sustained as it is today. There is a research study by a big consulting company according to which corporate welfare, I'm not going to give you all the figures, but it does confirm that corporate welfare favors an increase in productivity, reduces stress, makes employee more productive and also happier in a way because their families are fine. And all these are positive aspects. So, well, what I'm asking Manuela Kron is this. A big company like Nestlé that has about over 5,000 employees in Italy, how does this company experience this? So, well, and since it is a group that is present everywhere in the world, we can also draw a comparison between the situation in Italy and the situation in other countries, because this comparison would make us understand the specific situation better. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak here. Well, I'm a spokeswoman actually here because I represent our community, our human resources community, who for years have been working at these projects in a very effective and efficient way, and they have actually been able to identify those needs that Annamaria Parente was mentioning before. So the principle, the starting point is that those who live better, work better. Well, this is not always the case, but this is our starting point, and we have been working on it since 2010. In 2011, we had new contracts with the trade unions, so we started to introduce mutual standardization of aspects concerning the income of employees, and well, this is actually the tangible relationship between the employees and the company. And well, our company started also to reflect on other aspects that are less tangible. What can I give to my employees? We were wondering. So there are some aspects, for instance, some practical things where I must say that the laundry service in our company is used more by men than by women. This is our experience. Anyway, so they don't have to iron their own shirts. That's why. And there are a lot of young people. So maybe this is the reason why. Anyway, there is another important aspect. We have been asking ourselves, what can I offer my employees in order to help them to work better? Well, the first answer is I can help them manage their time better, because the relationship between family time and working time is extremely important. So we have tried to help our employees. So apart from very practical activities like, for instance, corporate kindergartens and the like, so we have been trying to focus on time. Since 2011 and 12, we launched some initiatives. The phrase smart working has been applied for years now, and we've been trying to find the right balance between the needs of our company and the needs of our employees. So what do we mean by smart working, and how do we apply it in our own reality, which is actually the most important welfare component? So, well, it is a mutual relationship where we trust our employees. We say as a company, we know that you are always present in your office, at your desk, to work and produce. And if we work together and if I trust you and if I give you some goals, then it's up to you how you're going to achieve them. So this is probably the best way to create this kind of relationship, as this was actually a problem in terms of training the employees, but particularly training the bosses of our employees. I myself am a boss, so well, it's not easy for us to accept I will be working from home or from elsewhere, wherever I want, but I'll be working, I'll be there, you can contact me, and I'm working at the goals that you have given me. So this was one of the strongest activities that was applied gradually, and now we are actually realizing that there are more and more people who are doing smart working at the moment. So obviously this is not like a part-time working position, but there can be, I don't know, family problems, health problems that you could have, for instance, a medical visit for which I need 2 hours. It wouldn't make sense for me to come back to the office afterwards, but I can go on working from home. So we have really tried to make a sort of awareness raising campaign among our employees. So we have given all these options to our non-tangible options to our co-workers. So this is an opportunity that is actually chosen by an increasing number of people. We are still working on it. There are so many people involved, and the percentage of the so-called white collars that do smart working is increasing. Why not? Why shouldn't they? Shouldn't also workers do that? So, well, we are working in that direction. It is not very easy because we need to inform both the bosses, so to speak, and the workers. So if there are technologies that enable us to work from home, this means that you can be flexible. So this is one of the main initiatives we have launched. Then to go back to your question, Bernhard, since Nestlé is present everywhere in the world, we have obviously countries that apply different laws in different ways, as for instance maternity leave. So after your baby is born, in Italy we have fantastic laws. In China they have 0 day. In the civilized United States, I think they have 10 to 15 days, maybe even less, according to the corporate bargaining. And, well, obviously Nestlé wants to have happy families for their workers. So Nestlé, alone in the world, gave to all their women workers at least 14 weeks of maternity leave after the baby is born. Well, in Italy, obviously, we have 16 weeks, so here we apply the Italian law. But in the United States, in China, women working for Nestlé have a 14-week maternity leave. So this, in a way, obviously encourages young women in the United States and in China to work for our company. Well, I couldn't even imagine to go back to work 2 days after I had my baby. It's crazy. So this is a kind of law that we have applied everywhere. And also with the well-being of family in mind, soon before the Italian law for so 2 paternity leave days, Nestlé decided to actually give more paternity leave days up to 2 weeks that can be actually used within the 2 years of age of the baby. So, well, this is open to all the fathers working for Nestlé. What do you think? Do you think that it's more the workers or the uh, white collars that take more days? Well, the workers take more days because for those fathers who work in the offices, well, we almost have to convince them to stay at home where their newborns and their wives, because there is a strong mentality that you have to be in the office at your desk. And this is something that is true mainly for men. But we are really noticing that our workers want to stay with their wives and their newborn babies because, well, sometimes they even have more than one baby, they have more than one child, so they can help the mom with the kids, and this is quite important. So, from our point of view, this is extremely important, and these are the main aspects of what we did. We also try to help parents to, in a way, manage their children. So we have summer camps when school finishes. Parents can take their children to us, to our companies, and we have a small and big plants. In the smaller plants, well, there is maybe not so much the need to have someone to take care of the kids, of the little children, whereas in Milan and in Perugia we do need this kind of service. So we are actually listening to the different needs of the different areas, of the different regions, and we find a way to mediate these needs so that everyone is happy. What is our next frontier? Well, with a working force that is aging in the office because of, well, obviously the retirement age has increased. We also have our parents, our own parents that need our care. So it would be important to have vouchers that will help us find someone to care for our parents. But we want to help our employees in a very clear and planned way to take care for elderly parents, parents who need care. So we have been working at this for years. We have not found a solution that could be suitable for the whole of the Italian territory. So if there is someone here that has ideas, we are ready to take them on board. Thank you.
Adesso andiamo.
We'll now move, after this intervention about the needs that are taken into account by companies, let's take a look at what operators do. And first, I would like to read some statistical data on, well, it has been made on 400 enterprises. 67% of these enterprises have at least one benefit, welfare. 50% have a welfare plan with a contract, so they apply this new law. And the most popular benefits are 60% company canteens, working time flexibility 46%, health insurance 41%, conventions for consumption 38%, health care assistance 36%, 30% help in paying for the children's study, and smart working 27%. So, well, this shows us the picture of the needs of our workers. So the time factor, the health factor, the consumption factor, which are becoming more and more important. So now let's move to UniSalute, that has been working on prevention, welfare assistance for so many years. So we can actually learn a lot about the changes that have taken place from them. The words to Fiammetta Fabris. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would really like to thank you all for this opportunity to share with you what we are doing also in the Unipol group, because, well, our group has always considered the human factor within companies as a fundamental element. So we have found solutions within companies that are targeted at people, health first of all, but also welfare. So this is something, these are the aspects that characterize our insurance solutions for enterprises, beside the core business in terms of production. So we really focus on the human factor. So we have made choices, and we were in a way leaders and precursors in that, because we wanted to find solutions in order to create, and we created UniSalute, which has today 7 million customers, all belonging to different companies, and we present specific health programs for these customers. So this human factor element is extremely important, because the health of people in general is matched by legal choices that encourage enterprises, also by means of fiscal incentives. Well, this is obviously a very good opportunity that we have to take advantage of, and it is at the very basis of the success of these initiatives. So it is extremely important to go on, give a new imprinting to the work contract with the new elements on not only on welfare, but also on in terms of health and internal solution, welfare solutions that are a little bit wider, larger, that are connected with the lifestyles of people and families, in order to create some health programs for families that continue giving great advantages. And well, this holds true also for small businesses. In particular, the Italian small and medium enterprises that are now finding integrated solutions for their employees. Just to give you an example of the figures we were talking about, but I'm not very good at operating this. Here it is, the slide. So I'll go back to what we were saying before. So, well, starting from welfare solutions that were organized, these are today's the figures that Bernhard was talking about. Companies have tried to, in a way, change their way of working, and they started to think about business also as a safeguard of the human factor, which is a key factor. If our employees find their identity within our companies, and if there are a specific solution for the needs of these people, well, this obviously will lead to a stronger relationship between the employee and the company in itself. So, well, if yesterday this was mentioned in the TV broadcast Quark a lot, the problem of absenteeism. So this actually shows how important it is for companies to focus on men and women. This is the great resource that we have to always keep into account. So from the point of view of solutions, what we have or what our employees ask for is the opportunity to improve the quality of their working life, but with, well, for operators like us in the area of health and welfare. So, well, the program for the insurance program is one of the elements that gives more, well, a sense of safety to our employees, and it is really very requested. So, well, we still obviously have the national contracts, but also the internal integrative agreements. So, trade unions and employers have a very important role to play in creating these tools, and from the operational point of view, this leads to the creation of ad hoc solutions that take into account the specific needs of a certain region, of a certain area. So the solutions we talked about, those over 20,000 agreements that were already registered, well, there is a big percentage of small and medium enterprises, but these are mainly SMEs of the regions Emilia-Romagna, Veneto, and Lombardia. So these are the three regions that moved quicker to organize and to benefit from these opportunities from the fiscal point of view. From the point of view of solutions that are now needed, since this is a tool that cannot be reserved just to a big company, it is necessary that there are some platforms for enterprises. So it's not enough to have organized tools for solutions of integrated welfare. So, well, we can have a bargaining to conquer a certain health plan that actually can cover, so to speak, the health aspect, but it's not targeted at the single individuals. So in order to be able to create specific welfare plans with an evaluation that is larger, an evaluation of the needs of companies, we need to start from the analysis of the needs of these companies. And this is extreme, where the role of enterprises becomes important. The company needs to know what the needs of their employees are, and then everything that is everything that emerges from these evaluations needs to become part of a platform that needs to be studied specifically for each company, and that needs to lead to the use of different kinds of services. Our experience in UniSalute, starting from the experience that were done on health plans, 7 million people in Italy, for which we manage integrative health care services with a convention with the national service, that led us to create platforms to manage flexible benefits with a new model. Since January this year, we are now on the market also with some information tools for small enterprises, so that we can minimize the costs and optimize the countervalue but the enterprise, with its consulting support, needs to be supported into this. Then, well, probably Dr. Keller will explain that this is extremely important, because this is the starting point to create a tailored program of flexible benefits that can help my employees in their everyday life. So it needs to be a solution. If I have more women, more mothers, or people that have, to take care of elderly people, so we need actually to take into account the different needs. So if there are a lot of children, maybe the services could be that of I don't know, dental care, for instance, and these might be seen as extremely important. So we need to know what the needs are, the needs of our employees. So let's think that we can do a lot in terms of solutions, also with not much. We do not need that have significant production hours. We can have conventions and agreements of great value, and it is possible to find some ways according to which a small economic result can actually be a chance for the employee to have to be supported in for certain expenses. Today we have 1 million people who are not self-sufficient, and they are who have an insurance against the possibility to become not self-sufficient. So we have 30,000 conventions for caregivers, for instance. So these are mainly agreements that we have signed with the third sector that can actually give these solutions. So in this case, we already grant our customers these home services, which we already do, and they can also be elements that are part or can be part of our flexible benefit plans and of corporate welfare, in order to provide organized solutions. So what people need is to understand how they can get to that solution. If they want to be supported, they want to be helped. So our case managers help families in managing the person and in providing them with the certainty that there is someone that can help you in a new way. And these are, the coverage that has been created for thousands of customers that we have used for small and medium enterprises. So I believe that this is a very important opportunity for many enterprises, because now that our GDP is growing, we should really invest more on this population that has always had the need to get organized from the operational point of view, and needs to be requalifying its plans. So this is a very good opportunity, and enterprises here have a chance to support their employees. And I conclude by saying that our group has certain organizational aspects that with the new agreements that were started already some time ago. We have 16,000 employees at the moment, and this means that we have a very substantial organization, and these are solutions that are wide range solutions, and so solutions to have more free time, and this actually makes it possible to improve the situation for many employees. So, well, these are the programs that can be used throughout the national territory according to the different needs, and this led us to have programs that are suitable for people and their needs. But these people need to know that there are all these opportunities, but there is also the need for these programs to be revised over time. The first solution could work for some years, but then while the number of people using this welfare plan increases, the need for innovating these tools is extremely important. Thank you.
Yeah. Mi permetto solo di sottolineare che questo aspetto dell'analisi
I just like to underline that this aspect of analysis, which is more like a comprehension of the needs of our employees, for many enterprises meant the opportunity to really look their employees in the eyes to understand what they need. So it is almost a paradox that a state law led to some kind of humanization of the relationship within enterprises, where employers started to ask their employees, what is it that you need? What kind of a family do you have? So in a way, this goes in the right direction in terms of the relationship between employer and employees. So, I'd say that the use of platforms is easier than one could think. At the beginning, one might be scared, but once you have overcome the initial difficulties, well, it is really easy to use them. And now we have the contribution by Andrea Keller from Edenred. I won't give you any particular figures because, well, it will be Andrea who will be talking about this. So this is a completely different kind of service. Good morning everyone, first of all. I'd like to thank Emilia Guarnieri for this invitation because, well, it's my first time in the meeting, in the Rimini meeting, and I was really, well, positively surprised by this event, which is extremely interesting for the themes that are dealt with. And I was really impressed that there are over 3,000 people who work on a voluntary basis here at the meeting. And, well, the welfare is at the heart of my professional life, so I'm always glad to talk about this. The Rimini meeting is, well, a meeting, so I will have to introduce myself first. I'm Andrea Keller, 45 years of age. I married a French woman. I have 2 children, and I work for Edenred, present in Italy since the 1970s. So this we started with meal vouchers and restaurant tickets, but now we manage platforms, welfare services, both with the public authorities and with enterprises. So, well, I really work at the heart of my passion, so to speak. And this is actually, well, I consider myself lucky. So, well, the first aspect is that of welfare. Newspapers talk a lot about welfare, that there are a lot of laws, but where does the welfare come from, and why is it changing so much in Italy? And this is the second question I will try to answer, is corporate welfare. Why have enterprises started to talk about welfare? So, well, with reference to my first question, well, the welfare comes from welfare state, which can be translated in different ways in Italian. Anyway, the concept of welfare is a series of public interventions aimed at the well-being of the population. So, for instance, all the elements that have to do with healthcare, with social systems, and so on. Now, however, the concept of welfare is changing, and I will be mentioning a couple of figures because they are impressive. The life expectancy in Italy has increased by 50 years. In 1861, life expectancy was 35 years. In 150 years, and this is not such a longer period of time, so we have an increase by 50%. In 2020, the life expectancy for women will be 90 years of age. 8 of the last 10 years of our lives are spent in a situation of where people are not self-sufficient. Natality rate is 1.3 newborns for every woman. To have a renovation in demographic terms, we should have 2.1 newborns. 60 million Italians today. Within 50 years, we will be only 53 million. So Italians, the number of Italians will decrease. In terms of legal separation in married couples, they have gone from 1,000 to 85,000 per year. So this pillar of our modern society, the family, is suffering. So if there are today 4 active people every one single non-active person, within 40 years there will be 2 active people for 1 active people, with a public debt that has reached 132% of the GDP. Between 1980 and 1990, the public debt was 52%. At the end of 1990, it doubled to 100%. So we'll have to bear these factors in mind. So our country is aging, and there are social pillars that are really in a critical phase, like families, and we're a country that doesn't have a lot of resources to manage the problems of its citizens. So the welfare state needs to change and has changed. So we started with a concept of public welfare, but now we talk about welfare communities, where all the actors or the stakeholders that contribute to the well-being of the population need to commit themselves to the well-being of people. So we are talking about the state, but also about families, which are still very important in Italy, and about enterprises as well. And that leads me to the second part of my intervention. This change towards a welfare community has arrived, so to speak, has reached the enterprises. Enterprises need to provide the right tools to make welfare. So that means that we are in the Renaissance period of the welfare. In the Renaissance, many things were invented: hospitals, education, culture. Now, new tools are necessary to enable enterprises to provide their employees with welfare services. The legal framework has actually helped us a lot, just like Ms. Parente was saying, because the government has become, in a way, the mediator through which new solutions are found. We talked about platforms. I'll be talking about vouchers, but this was made possible because of this new role played by the state. And how? Through defiscalizations operations, enterprises today, apart from the monetary, or rather about the fixed and variable income, also provide employees with benefits. Babysitting services, for instance, educational services, school fees. So these are the benefits. So with 150 euros spent by the enterprise, if they became part of the income of the salary, the worker will actually get 95 euros free from taxes. Whereas if these 150 euros are given in form of benefits, it is 150 euros that actually arrive to the worker. So what are the new tools for the enterprise? And I'm not going to talk about platforms because we already dealt with this, but I'll talk about an example that dates back to the period after the Second World War. Vouchers. Vouchers were created by an English doctor after the war because they had the problem to actually feed the people working in this medical center. So this doctor went to visit the different restaurants around the medical center, and he agreed with the owners that his employees would go and have a lunch and present a small ticket, and afterwards the medical center would pay for their meals. This actually led to a very important change. For instance, in France, in 2005, Minister Borloo created a voucher for corporate welfare, which in 10 years created over 100,000 jobs and was used by over 800,000 families in 1 year. So if we have the right tools, the goals that can be achieved are really significant. So those 20,000 agreements that were signed with the new law for welfare, here you can actually achieve the right goals within the system. So, well, to conclude, I would like to add that today enterprises, by renewing their dialogue with their employees, because this is actually an opportunity to improve the dialogue between a company and its workers and employees. Well, companies now have two different tools: the platforms, as we said, and the second one is that of vouchers. Vouchers that can be found also within platforms, or can be bought as a very simple welfare tool. So, for instance, gift vouchers, fuel vouchers, meal vouchers. Well, these are all very useful tools for the well-being of workers. So, well, today we can say that this creation of new tools is bearing its fruits. And I can say that this change needs to be encouraged. So, well, our working life is changing. Young people have completely different thinking schemes, look at work with a completely different, from a completely different perspective. So we need to accompany this transformation. We cannot resist it because the transformation, the change in work leads us to flexibility, to smart working. For instance, the technologies are actually more and more present in very repetitive works, jobs. So we have to encourage young people to take creative jobs. So this calls for a change in our way of thinking. And I do believe that welfare is a good idea to redescribe, to rewrite the dialogue between the company and its workers and employees. And we need to support these new ideas, like those linked with the corporate welfare, because our society needs social innovation in order to meet the great challenges that we face. Thank you.
Abbiamo ancora pochi minuti.
We just have a couple of minutes. I will just ask a very quick question to each speaker, but I will ask them to be really very brief. Annamaria, Parente, there has been a law that has been actually very quickly translated. What do you think there? Do you think there is need for changes? Because if all the laws were applied that quickly, we would be really happy. Well, as I was saying before, with these figures of the registered contracts and agreements, this is a very good result for a new law, because when we have new laws, it is not easy to implement them. So this is certainly a positive aspect. Well, in terms of what we still have to do, I'd say that we should keep what is the content of this law and continue dealing with corporate welfare. For instance, last year we talked about the fuel vouchers, but I believe that there is not much more, so to speak, we can do in terms of legal terms. So this law, this decree is positive both for the enterprises and for the employees, because obviously we do know that productivity is linked with the well-being of employees. Today we talk about Industry 4.0 of robots replacing men and women, so there is a whole philosophical debate on this, and I participated on many roundtables on this, and it is extremely interesting. So we are really wondering what is going to happen within the next 20 years, because obviously politicians should have a long-term perspective. So we are really wondering, or we're really reflecting upon the centrality of man in the working world. Obviously, the fiscal benefits were an incentive to actually help this law to be applied. So the possibility to have a tax that can be replaced by 10%. So, well, the different incentives in terms of taxation were all important incentives to apply this law. So, well, fiscal aspect is extremely important as a very good strategy. Then we are meeting the social needs, the needs for care, the varied needs that we have. So it is interesting that a law can actually finally meet the needs of these new social situation. So, well, that's why. But also, obviously, taking into account the aspect of productivity. And And obviously we need to do more. We will probably need to give more value to local bargaining. Italy, anyway, has to be considered as a whole. So we have to give importance to decentralized bargaining as well as to national bargaining, because this is how we can help very big companies. We have small companies that have inside themselves small companies. So that's really interesting. So there are different situations in big cities and small towns. So this is extremely important. And I'll add that this law on corporate welfare can create new jobs in terms of the sector of services to people. That should be done in a legal way, obviously, because obviously if you have a voucher that calls for a very legal way to deal with these kind of services that are often provided in an illegal way, because, well, this is a theme that is important for our future.
Manuela Kron ha insistito molto.
Manuela Kron talked about the fact that people who are happy and healthy work better. So big companies can actually measure this kind of development within their staff. Do you have some objective proof that the application of certain welfare tools improve productivity? No. So, well, the only thing we can say is that this modality actually improves, and it does. So, well, there are two different aspects, because there are more and more people using them, using these tools. So what we can see, this is a way to measure how the system works. So productivity at least it doesn't go down. The fact that people are more aware is the first proof. And then obviously there are the test and trial. We made a lot of mistakes. For instance, in terms of working hour, we thought that people who had to sit long hours in the offices maybe would have appreciated to have ready-made meals to take home, but that was not a success. So we can say we have a positive trend, but we might need to make some adjustments in time, because we have already identified a few situations where we needed to fine-tune our work, but that's okay. So my last question is the same question for both for Fiammetta Fabri and Andrea Keller, that has already been mentioned by Annamaria Parente. That is to say, these incentives, this cooperation between public and private sector, could this become a development driver for the whole country? Yes, of course. Yes, I'm sure about this. We as a group think this is a very fundamental element in our planning, in particular with reference to the health aspect. So we do believe that we need to support the National Healthcare Service. This is a fundamental element, and in order to support this service, because there are so many good things in our healthcare service, but to do this, we needed to have a basis. We needed to have those resources, these contracts, these welfare contracts. So what is actually targeted at integrated healthcare can be organized in such a way that they are complementary to what the National Social and Healthcare Service offers. So we offer people that the solutions that are not present in the national health care service, for instance, dental care or physiotherapy. So those things that our national care service cannot offer. So I believe this is the best way to use our resources, our economic resources that derive from the contracts, and find a concrete solution for each person. Thank you.
Ma in pochi minuti.
Well, I say that, to be brief, I'd say that everything that is being done in terms of welfare is a good example of the fact that we are no longer in a situation of juxtaposition, but rather in a situation of synergy. From certain points of view, the state on the one side and the enterprises on the other were seen as two, in a way, rivaling elements. Well, the welfare is a new synergy that can be created between the private and the public sector. And here, legislators have two different roles to play. So obviously there are aspects that continue to exist, as for instance the rent sector, the healthcare sector, but they also become, as I was saying before, mediators because they help a new sector, which is the sector where private enterprises operate. It's not easy to write new rules. It is difficult to make everyone happy when you write new rules, but we do need to do this because this synergy needs to be encouraged, and we can do this only by having cooperation of the private and the public sector in Italy that should pursue together these common joint goals. Thank you. So I would like to thank all our guests. I would like to thank you for being here today. I'm sure that it's been a very interesting meeting for those who are interested in this theme for their professional activities. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the meeting. I'm sorry, there is still one thing. Please, we are carrying on a fundraising campaign. Please donate at the desks where you see the writing Dona Ora, because the meeting obviously depends on you in a way. So thank you very much.